Hey Patrick and Shannon, Blake here. Contributed a couple of things from time to time over the years, usually via email. In this case, I decided to make a video because you're starting to talk about something that I'm deeply passionate about, which is virtual and augmented reality. So I work for a university-affiliated research center, so I do a lot of work with virtual and augmented reality. I am one of the leaders in our community of practice when it comes to AR and VR. And we're just building out, and 2016 has been a crazy year. We've been in absolute nirvana as we've been getting in all of these devices and working with them and find out what works and what doesn't work, and it's been really exciting. And so Patrick was super amped about Project Alloy, which I thought was great, but at the same time, I think there are some really interesting weaknesses that were exposed in the video that really bear discussing. So the first one of those things is when you watch the video, I could not help but notice, as somebody who's designed environments with virtual reality, since you're blanking out the world, as opposed to augmented reality, but with virtual reality especially, since you're blanking out the world, you have to build a sense of trust between user and device. If you don't build that sense of trust between user and device, you end up having scenarios where the user will tether themselves, they will bound themselves in a space that they know is to be safe, which is interesting since this is an untethered device. People, I think, are going to end up tethering themselves in rooms that they know are clear of clutter, especially ground clutter, and don't have any steps down or anything like that in them. Because when you watch the video, as he puts the headset on, he's very clearly saying, don't reach to the end of stage, don't fall down, I hope I don't fall over. In that device, they have a thing so that you can sense walls, which is great. That's better than the Vive has right now. The Vive, we've seen all the fail videos where people go bonking into walls and stuff like that. In this case, they have cameras that will tell you if something is there. The problem is that it doesn't tell you if there's nothing there. So if you have an open stairwell or the end of a stage, there's a very good chance that you're just going to go careening off of it, and that's something of a problem. Is that going to be a problem for everybody that uses this? No, but I'm certain that there will be some scenarios where people are going to be concerned about that. And the answer to that, the natural response to that, is to constrain themselves. The other concern that I had about this is that it was a full room VR, so you're moving around, testing your sense of balance on a device that is untethered. Now, we've seen this a little bit here and there. With Google Cardboard and Samsung Gear VR, those are really designed to be sitting or standing experiences, right? They don't deal with acceleration as you're walking or something like that. They just mostly deal with a little bit of rotation and some translation, but if you start walking around with a Google Cardboard, it's not going to work. The Microsoft HoloLens is kind of a really different beastie in that case, but it has the trust built in, and it has the tools to prevent discomfort built in. Because it's augmented reality, you're still anchored in the real world, and you're still seeing that because it's a clear thing that you see, and you don't have the disconnect between the ocular system and the vestibular system. With something like the Project Alloy, if its mobile processing isn't able to keep up with what's going on screen, and I did see that happen a couple of times in the demos, I did see some frames get dropped as they were interacting with it. I think when he was pushing the lever in one of the videos I saw online, some dropped frames. If you have a disconnect between the ocular system and the vestibular system, unless the proprioceptive system, the understanding of where our bodies are in relation to ourselves, but really it's the eyes and the inner ears. When those don't line up, one of two things is probably going to happen. One, you're just going to start feeling ill. You're going to get motion sickness, simulator sickness, or what the industry just dubs as discomfort. And then the other thing is you may have balance issues. The eyes are a very important part of the balance system, so if you have any performance issues while you're walking around with the ocular system, you have a real problem on your hands. So I'm afraid that the amount of engineering on the software side to make up for the fact that this is portable, untethered hardware is a concern for current generations of GPU tech. We have time to solve some of those problems. They definitely have put out the milestone far enough away that they may be able to resolve some of these issues, but they really need to come out with an incredibly solid product in this current market space with the Vive and the Rift and the HoloLens and PlayStation 4 VR. Like you can't be playing against the Sonys and the Microsofts of the world unless you're coming out with a real grade A project, because otherwise they're just going to eat you alive. So it will be absolutely interesting to see what they have. And I'm looking forward to next week's show, where you're going to be talking more about VR and AR, and I love to hear more about what you said. I got a chuckle out of your statement that games make VR, considering that in my particular case, games don't make VR. I am doing all kinds of software dev, using Unity and other game tools, but for non-game things. And even though I think games are absolutely going to popularize VR, I think that's the gateway in. Where does it go from here? There are huge areas of industries where AR and VR are going to be absolute time-saving, skill-saving, productivity boosters, life-saving devices, actually. And I'm really excited to see where that market goes as well. So looking forward to next week's episode, and I can talk about this topic at length. So actually, you have my email address. If you want to get in touch with me, we can talk about some of the nitty-gritty of these things later. I do have a few NDAs in place, so I can't talk about all the devices that are coming to market and what's going on, but I have a pretty good handle on anything that's had a commercial release. I've been hands-on with it and can talk to you at length about it, I think. So really excited for what the next couple of years have in store for this industry, because I think it's absolutely exciting and brilliant stuff. So hopefully I'll see you later, talk to you later, and have a good one. Bye.